Alright, so it's no surprise that some of the students in Class 1A are rich. Sometimes it's shoved in our faces with just how rich they are. Like, who the hell gives 3 solid gold bars as a Christmas present? It's times like these where I really wish I was friends with Momo. But as for the rest of Class 1A, it's not as obvious as it is with Momo or Ida. Most of the students seem to be in the middle, where they aren't as rich as Momo, but they aren't as down bad as Ochako. And we can tell because when the students first moved into their dorm rooms, they basically took whatever was in their rooms at home and moved them into their dorms. And most of their rooms were fairly normal and fitting with their personality, though I still don't want to see what's inside Minetta's room. Ugh. Gross. Just thinking about it makes me feel weird. Even most of the students' reactions when it came to seeing the Class 1A Heights Alliance dorms, it was full of excitement, whereas Ochako faints at the sight of how big everything was, while Momo thought that the rooms weren't going to be as small as they were. I honestly wish I had Momo's rich girl problems. In today's video, I'm going to prove that there's another student in Class 1A that deserves to be put among the rich kid group alongside Momo Yaoyorozu, Tenya Ida, Soto Todoroki, and Katsuki Bakugo, and that student is Ejiro Kirishima. Now, at first I thought Kirishima fit in with most of the class, but there are so many hints hidden throughout the series and its spin-offs that prove that Kirishima is basically rich. Don't believe me? Well, let's take a look at the evidence, starting all the way back to around the beginning of the series, before UA and before the red hair. We are going to be looking at emo Kirishima in his middle school days, and to be more specific, the middle school Kirishima attended to before heading to UA. That middle school being Mustafa Private Middle School. Now, the reason why we are looking at his middle school is because it is a private school, and for those of you that don't know, sometimes you have to pay a lot of money in tuition just so that you can attend at a private school. Now, it's important that we remember that Mustafa Private Middle School is located somewhere in Musutafu, Japan, where My Hero Academia takes place in. And as we know, Musutafu doesn't exist in the real world. So just like in my How Poor is Ochako video, we'll be using Tokyo, Japan as a reference point to judge price points for certain things that aren't specifically given to us in the manga or anime, since Musutafu, where My Hero Academia takes place in, is just a cool Star Wars reference that just so happens to be located near Tokyo. So with that said, Kirishima went to a private middle school, which is no joke because in Japan, the average cost is upwards to about 2 to 2.5 million yen per year. And when we convert that to the US dollar, we get $18,000 to $23,000 per year, which is insane because when you think about it, people are out here living off of that $18,000 to $23,000 a year regularly. Kirishima's middle school education costs more than my yearly living. Now, depending on the grade, the price of tuition for that year is going to be different compared to the last year's tuition or even the next year's tuition. Basically, the higher the grade, the higher the price. For consistency, we are going to assume that Kirishima's parents paid the most for their child's education, without any financial aid or programs that could help lighten that cost. Plus, we know Kirishima isn't all that great academically, so his parents were definitely going to have to pay that high price for Kirishima to get that good education. That price being 2.5 million yen a year. So 3 years of middle school gives us a total of $69,000 or 7.5 million yen just for his middle school education alone. Alright, so I kinda have a confession to make. In Kirishima's backstory, where we find out that he went to a private middle school, in the manga, right after we see him get scared of Gigantomachia, we actually get to see Kirishima's house in a small panel. But sadly, in all of my hours of researching, I could not find a house that looked remotely similar to his house, so I couldn't pinpoint exactly what his house would have cost. Who knows, maybe I wasn't looking correctly, but either way, the fact that he used to live in a house and took the train to school every day before moving into the UA Heights Alliance dorms shows us that his parents are doing well financially. And speaking of the UA dorms, let's fast forward in time to the Bakugo Retrieval Arc and then Christmas. This is where we look at Kirishima's allowance, his spending habits, and the way he treats his money. So first up is the Bakugo Retrieval Retrieval Arc. Right before Class 1A first entered into the 1A Heights Alliance dorms, we find out that during the Bakugo Retrieval Arc, Kirishima used up all of his allowance on a pair of night vision goggles. It's important that we keep in mind that in the anime, when Bakugo hands Kirishima money for the night vision goggles, the anime adds in an extra line of dialogue for Bakugo, saying, "You used up all of your allowance, right?" This line gives us confirmation that Kirishima gets an allowance. Moving on, we know that Kirishima didn't buy just any pair of night vision goggles. He bought the latest model, and thanks to Deku, we know that those night vision goggles cost at least 50,000 yen, with the actual price being 49,800 yen. Thanks to Deku and Horikoshi for doing the work for me, we can just simply convert that already rounded up 50,000 yen and get $458.45 in American monies. Now, I'm sure Kirishima most likely paid taxes and shipping for those goggles, and I doubt his allowance was exactly the $458 needed to buy those night vision goggles. So we are going to round that up to the nearest hundred, that being $500 or 45,531.50 yen. That way it would make more sense for what his actual allowance would look like and for him to be able to pay for that shipping and taxes. So basically this man gets an allowance of about $500. Now, whether that's a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly allowance remains to be seen, but to have that amount of money as just an allowance alone is crazy. Kirishima is basically getting Ochako's rent money back when she was living in her apartment. Plus, we can't forget that after getting money from Bakugo for his night vision goggles, he right away spends all of that money on barbecue for the whole class. So Kirishima straight up, within a short time frame, spent close to $1,000 for night vision goggles and barbecue. Though Kirishima has an allowance that limits his spending to a certain extent, he still is casually okay with spending it, not really caring how much a certain item costs or whatever the occasion may be. Besides buying the latest model of a pair of expensive night vision goggles, there is one other time where we see that Kirishima isn't all that bothered when it comes to the price tag on certain items, and that's during the events of the My Hero Academia 5th School Briefs light novel. So back when the students were first showing off their dorm rooms, if we take a good look at Kirishima's room, it looks fairly normal and fits in with his character. Now, the only thing that's really worth looking at in his room is his punching bag, because in the My Hero Academia 5th School Briefs light novel, it takes place around the Christmas and New Year's holiday, and all of Class 1A are doing a big winter cleaning. In the novel, Kirishima ended up breaking his punching bag while doing a little bit of training one day. As Kirishima was dragging the whole punching bag plus the pole to throw it out, Ida sees him and asks if he's okay with throwing the whole thing away, and Kirishima responds by saying, "Yeah, I can always buy another one online with fast shipping." Keep in mind that the 5th School Briefs light novel has not been officially translated yet as of me making this video, but thanks to Audrey on Twitter, we know exactly what happened in the book. She even blessed us by showing us how much a punching bag on Amazon Japan is worth, and they can go for at least 22,000 yen or more. The picture she showed had a punching bag worth 24,200 yen. So we are going to convert the higher priced one since we know Kirishima be paying for that quality. Plus, it looks very similar to the one Kirishima had in his room. So once converted to the US dollar, we get $222.37. And once we account for taxes and all that, Kirishima is at least paying $250 for that punching bag. Kirishima is probably the living embodiment of shut up and take my money. With all of the evidence gathered up, the question still remains, is Kirishima secretly rich? I think by now we can all agree that Kirishima is pretty rich. The way that he can just casually spend money on a pair of night vision goggles that costs around $500 and a whole new punching bag that costs around $250 shows us that money isn't an issue for Kirishima, especially if he's getting an allowance of at least $500, which is still insane to me. On top of that, his parents owns a house and paid around $69,000 for his middle school education. Also, quick side note, now that I think about it, this means that Mina would also be pretty loaded with cash too, because she went to the same private middle school as Kirishima. Oh, and if you're still doubtful on Kirishima being rich, during the Two Heroes movie, Kirishima took two nice looking formal outfits for him and Bakugo to wear during the iExpo event. And you tell me what normal high schooler has two, possibly even more nice looking formal outfits at the ready. So yeah, with all of the evidence we've gathered in this video, Kirishima is 100% a part of the rich kid club, and I guess Mina as well. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on today's video. Are you surprised to know that the manly Kirishima is rich and has an education that costs more than your worth? I know I am. Let me know in the comment section below everything. With that said, if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you want to see more My Hero Academia content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on to join the Kitoroki Hero Academia to become my hero. Doing all of this really does help the channel out a lot, and it's always appreciated. Remember to stay plus ultra, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.